Welcome back to The Talking Hedge. I'm Josh Kincaid, and this is your Cannabis Business Podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about cannabis sustainability. On the line is our CBD correspondent, Dan Kimmis of Good CBD Products. Forbes magazine had an article titled recently, Why We Must Cultivate a Culture of Sustainable Development in Regulated Cannabis. Obviously, any new industry has a lot of issues, whether it's regulation or waste. Any entrant is going to come up with new ways of, conserving water or electricity. In this industry, you can do that via recycled systems or LED lights. So there's a lot of options. And yet what we're seeing with some of the packaging up in Canada specifically is that you have kind of this box and then you pull out and the plastic doob tube is in another display box. And then you take out this plastic doob tube and then finally you have a 0.5 gram joint. And so having it packaged like an Apple product for this experience is one thing, but then when you really look at it, fundamentally, there's really no reason for that amount of waste.
The plant is actually, if you look at the, kind of the classic culture of the plant, it is about farmers and sustainability and, a lot of things. And commercializing anything, my gosh, right? The absolute mound left behind from a lot of people enjoying pre-rolls is a sad thing in terms of the amount of plastic. And there are better ways. There has to be better ways.
Yes, absolutely. So this Forbes article goes in to say that the regulated cannabis industry has a tremendous opportunity to establish a paradigm for sustainable development and corporate social responsibility. I'm pointing out that pre-rolls, one of the number one products sold, have a lot of waste. There's other products, obviously, too. Being part of a lobbyist group called the Cannabis Alliance, our friend Jason Lammers of 420 Wholesale Pack has taken it upon himself to approach the capital of Washington. He went down to Olympia. He said it's unnecessary to require a 4 mil, I think it was, for these Mylar bags, and got it reduced down to 2. So essentially saving half as much. That's one example of how, a local community can go in and make an improvement to existing rules and laws as it pertains to cannabis sustainability.
Well, again, one of the great frontiers is going to be biodegradable packaging that, meets the demand of keeping the product through the duration with which it needs to be in market.
And there are some companies like Kushco and Grodan that have tried to make some commitments to produce environmentally friendly products. It's slow rolling out. And then there's other ones like Santa Packaging. It's made from recycled packaging, and they have doob tubes and everything for pre-rolls and concentrates and flour as well. However, it's not biodegradable. So it's still going to take 50, maybe 100 years for that to break down. So although they are taking it is ridiculous. And so it's nice that they're taking recycled materials, but they're still not making it biodegradable enough. A century is just too long.
And especially if you consider that that's wrapped around a 0.5 gram or 1 gram joint. And then again, during the duration of a day, right, I hit 2 or 3. It's the amount of garbage an individual's creating that's going to be around for 100 years because I went and enjoyed my cannabis. That's the problem I see with a lot of this.
Dope Magazine had a nice little pie chart about the carbon footprint of cannabis by comparisons. So this is from the city of Boulder, Colorado in 2016. Kind of gives us a little estimate from 3 years ago about total electricity and then transportation, the amount of natural gas, the amount of total waste, and then the amount of cannabis. And so total electricity accounts for about 49% of the carbon footprint of cannabis, followed by 28% for transportation, 20% for natural gas, and 2% waste and 1% cannabis for greenhouse gas emissions. If they planted hemp alongside that, it might neutralize some of that. And yet we're seeing with some other industries, obviously it's a lot worse, but we still need to be cognizant of the overall impact that we have on the carbon footprint. But Cannabis Business Times has some interesting ideas on what to do with this. They give us 5 ways to be aware, and that's to make some innovations, to try and educate, demonstrate, collaborate, and finally validate. And so innovation, we've already pointed out that can be seen in products like Santa Packaging although I'd like to see some, less times for the biodegradability. For education, there's some opportunities coming up, like the Cannabis Sustainability Symposium in Portland. That should be interesting, as well as to demonstrate. Part of the conversation is with regulators. You have to share your experience so that it's reasonable, fair, and protected to both businesses and the environments. So again, demonstrating that education that you have and the innovations that you've made to collaborate with the community on ways to reduce excessive waste and to validate that. You always need customer and product validation for low carbon footprints. So it's still going to be challenging for the cannabis industry to have a low carbon footprint and to have sustainability. It's going to take a lot more investment capital. And I think we're going to see that as California comes on board. For 2016, 2015, and 2014, California had one of the lowest amount of seed capital that graduated to a Series A. And so essentially what that means is that California was probably the last state to want to invest in companies like sustainability, even though they're one of the biggest states out there, one of the biggest contributors to waste. And so seeing the startup investment by quarter, it's just been raising, from a measly 16 million in 2017 to 452 million first quarter of this year. And when it breaks down to San Francisco and Seattle, Chicago, Boston, New York, and LA, they're all at about 20%, with LA 5% lagging behind. Now, again, that's just 2014, 15, 16. So with California legalizing recently, there should be a massive push. I wouldn't be surprised if that doubles or at least hit 25%. And with that, we should be able to see a lot of innovation, education, demonstration, validation, all of those things that we need to push for a lower carbon footprint and improve sustainability in the cannabis industry. And with that, we're going to roll this one up. I'm Josh Kincaid. This is The Talking Hedge. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, or don't. And I'm out.